Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Let me just do a brief introduction because there's always people that haven't a clue who we are and they're just on Facebook or YouTube or something. And here we are. My name is Sandra Champlain. I'm the host of a podcast called We Don't Die Radio. Talk about all things afterlife and grief and inspiring people to have a good life. And who you're seeing in front of you right now are some of my best friends. We have Kerry Phil and Phil Dykes, and they're unbelievably fantastic evidential mediums. And then we have two handsome gentlemen that are Scott Milligan and Darren Wynn, and they're coming from the Austin Wish Circle, Scott being the world's foremost physical medium and does trance mediumship also. So with that being said, our intention here is to do kind of a questions and answers recap how things have been since Monday when we did our first informal at-home chat, and just answer some questions about the afterlife or, you know, things in that category. So before we start, you guys just want to share how you've been since Monday.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Hi,
This is me, Scott here. But just to let you all know, Scott was taken into hospital on Wednesday and came out yesterday, was diagnosed with pneumonia. The hospitals released him earlier than they normally would, obviously because he's at risk of catching coronavirus. So he is going to be a bit quieter than normal tonight, which is very unusual. And he may get breathless at time to time. So if anyone's got a specific question for him, I will do my best to answer it if he struggles. If not, we'll try and back the questions to Phil and Kerry.
I think the last time we were on, I said I couldn't get him to shut up, and how karma goes full circle. So, yeah, be careful what you say. But we'll do our best. I've got a code, so if you see me doing this, it means I may need to tap out. But we'll do our best.
That's all we can do. Phil and Kerry?
Over to you, Kerry.
Going to say something, Scott?
I said over to you, Phil and Kerry.
Over to you. Okay. Well, we've been busy. We've been looking at ways that we can reach out. We've been working with Sandra and both of you to see how we can reach more people and how we can do that in ways that makes it accessible and enjoyable as well. So we've been busy working behind the scenes. We've been taking our one walk a day. We've been taking our trip to the shops, and we've been taking our one trip to exercise. And for those of you that are not at that stage, then enjoy it whilst it lasts.
It must have been really good because I can't remember any of those things. I've just been stuck behind the computer completely, sort of thing, just working on different projects and everything. So yeah.
Oh, very good. And with me, I've been with my mom. Yesterday, we got out of the house and got in the car. We needed to get some gasoline. I had my glove on, of course, but she lives in Newport, Rhode Island. So we drove down to the ocean and just overlooked the ocean and saw the waves and the seagulls. And, you know, to the waves and the seagulls and to the sand, it's just business as usual, you know, not knowing about any of this coronavirus. But it was nice just to get a little sunshine on us. And we've just been having some good times, Mom and I. There's been a lot of wine consumed, but a lot of really good conversations. And Mom's going on 78, and sometimes I take it for granted that she'll be around forever and that I'll be around forever. And I'm really, you know, when they say love the one you're with, that's what I'm up to right now. So that's good. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and I know we've got some people in with us watching this on Zoom. We're finding out all about this world of Zoom, and then we were able to share it on Facebook Live. And Darren, I don't know if you can see if people post questions on Facebook, or Kerry and Phil, you can. I know the last time we did this, I could not. But what I'd like to do is the people that are in our Zoom room, if you have a question that you want to ask one of these fabulous people or myself, there's a question and answer button, and you can type it in. So can I go ahead and just ask a couple questions that have already come in?
Sure.
and we'll see where we go. This one comes from Amanda. She says, I've heard a lot about sitting in the spirit as a way to open communication and experiences with those who have passed over. What does it mean? Is it meditation? Should you use a guided meditation or sit in the silence? Who wants that?
So who's going to answer first?
Mr. Philip Dykes, you're on.
Oh, I'm on. I'm okay. I should have kept
Oh,
my
is that
mouth
what you said? Oh, I thought you said
No,
you
no,
wanted
no,
to
no. I
answer
just
first.
said who's going to answer first.
Well,
So
then he who says that answers first.
Good on you.
Good on you.
I think they're
Yeah.
probably referring to sitting in the power.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask, actually. They must
Yeah.
mean sitting in the power. Sitting in the power is vital. It's the intention of reaching out to the spirit world at the end of the day. But first of all, we've got to go in with our own emotion, within our own senses as we sit, building up our sensitivity. And once we've built that sensitivity up, then we feel that impression of the spirit world on our auric field, and that gives us that impression of people around us. That's how information's passed. But we should be sitting daily as well. And we've seen videos recently that say you only need to sit for 5 or 10 minutes. If that's all we've got, that's fine. But really, we should be sitting longer. But there's a difference between sitting in the power and sitting in meditation. And I don't know if you want to answer the meditation side?
Scott, do you want to?
I
So
can.
how much air you have?
Well, if I want to become the perfect medium, if I just carry on talking, I'll be able to.
Yeah.
So for me, what Phil has said, when we sit in the power, we are a drop of rain that's melting into the ocean. And that drop of rain doesn't command the ocean. You obey the environment that you're in. So when we sit in the power, we are one with ourselves, one with the spirit world, one with this reality, and one with your environment. Meditation, depending upon your mental practice and what you are focusing your intent on, you can then find out who walks with you, or certain questions you may have a mindfulness of answer what comes back. But sitting for power is like fertilizer for your mediumistic capability. Meditation focuses. So if you've got the drunk monkey where your mind is constantly talking, meditation will do you well because you can focus on that. But with the power, you have to obey. You surrender into that experience. You're a pane of glass. And so each of us have different views on what is sitting in the power. And what the question was, sitting in the spirit, is sitting in self, sitting with yourself. Because for us to go out as mediums, we must know what is within us. And that's the key and the door to eternity. And the more you sit, you spiritualize your psychic awareness and your auric field. And that gives the spirit world the strength to press upon your mind, thoughts, and communication. That's probably the ambulance.
Yeah, are you jumping in?
Yeah, I think in terms of allowing us to communicate with our own loved ones, sitting in the power will be where we develop, as Scott and Phil have said, where we develop that ability to be more sensitized to the spirit within us. And as we become more aware of ourselves, we become more aware of the ability and of to sense the spirit world around about us. Because people have this idea that the spirit world lives someplace way up in heaven. In actual fact, the spirit world is around about us a lot of the time, and it's not that they suddenly come close to us. It's that because we become sensitive, we've become aware of them, so they haven't suddenly joined us. As we sit for power, we're able to develop our sensitivity and thereby increase our ability to sense our own loved ones that are in the spirit world.
Yeah. Absolutely, I agree with what Scott said and Kerry said. But there has to be a journey of self first, which is you going into your own mental awareness, like Scott said about the monkey mind, learning to get that distraction out of the way. Then there's all the emotions that come with that, and spiritualizing of the self. Then we move to that higher consciousness, and that's where that impression or that impression upon the mind starts to take place. But it's different. It's not within the normal brain, the normal functioning conscious brain. It's within inside at a deeper level, almost like the mirror of the mind, very internal. It's a very subtle and different feeling than just normal heavy conscious thoughts of every day. So the more that we practice that, and then feelings become more tangible and we heighten that consciousness, the mind moves towards that divine spirit, and that's where that impression of those loved ones, that information seems to impress upon the mind in different ways. Of clairaudience, where we hear, clairsentience, where we feel, and clairvoyance, where we see. And there's many different variants of all these different levels. And every medium and every person is individual and will have their own experience. But it's daily sitting in that practice that builds the power, that helps you get there quicker, that helps you stay there longer. And that's something that we must practice. And as mental mediums and as physical mediums, that process is vital to our development and vital to our craft. Without that, it suffers. We know that, and we're well disciplined in it, sitting daily.
Oh, it's great answers. And Scott and Darren, I have you muted just for a little while because I know you've got coughs, or if you try to say something and nobody's reacting, you maybe just unmute yourself. Not trying to be rude, but I wanted to share also, I'm somebody who wants results right away. And it's interesting because as long as I've been around you folks, it's like I know the importance of sitting in the power. And I don't always do, but it's a practice we can do. David asks a question. He's lost his, not lost, that nobody's ever lost, I know, but his wife, Jerry, has moved over to the unseen world. And I know just from corresponding with him that he hasn't received any signs from Jerry. She hasn't shown up in any dreams, you know, the signs people get, and perhaps sitting in the power could lead him to a closer relationship that way. But could you share just some advice for David or for anyone that you know, their loved one is in the unseen world, but yet they haven't felt that close connection with them?
So first of all, my heart goes out to David, and I want him to know that his wife is fit and well and is as beautiful as ever. And when we have this moment of bereavement, our loved ones are there, and unfortunately they're shouting at us saying, I've not gone anywhere. And sometimes we just cannot hear. But I noticed that if you just sit there and you have these random memories that come into your mind, maybe funny conversations, this is them. And sometimes when you're there, you may get like tingling around the head, and then you just think of your wife. That's them, that's her. And it's so important that you keep within your consciousness a communication of saying, you know, good morning, sweetheart, good morning, darling, you know, those kind of things, because your loved one is there. Phil, Kerry, Darren, myself, and Sandra have been privileged to go from believing to knowing. But when you go through that sting, when someone leaves you, only for a moment, it's so hard. But sitting in the power, maybe play a piece of music that is fond memories that you shared, and sit in that power and just remember slowly signs and feelings and thoughts will be there. But my friend said to me, and I shared this last time, dying is like closing your eyes, falling asleep, but waking up perfect. waking up feeling the best you've ever been, and it's only a moment until your loved ones join again. But I'm with you, and my heart's there for you, and if we can be of service, you know, we're in it together for you. Now, I know Phil and Kerry as mental mediums deal with this more often than I do, so that's my opinion, that's my view, and I hope it helps on the days to come.
Absolutely. I think as bereaved, and regardless of the space of time, whether it's a day, a week, a month, a year, when we lose somebody to the spirit world, when somebody transitions to the spirit world, the loss of that never leaves us. The pain of that, we begin to build a different relationship with, but the pain actually doesn't ever diminish and disappear. So to lose a partner, to lose a child, to lose a parent, a friend, a sibling, is such a loss that it takes time for us to work through that. And it's not sometimes that the signs aren't there. And Scott's absolutely right. Sitting in the power will allow David and other people who are bereaved to develop their own sensitivity. But it might be that he's not ready. Because in order to receive a sign, I'm not saying this is the situation with David, but some people are not ready to receive a sign because it means the finality that they're actually in the spirit world. And that is part of that grief process. So when those signs, those recognitions, that sense that Scott talked about the feeling that the spirit world's close, it will all come in its own time. I waited a long, long time for a very special person to let me know that they were in the spirit world, but I recognised it was part of my journey. So allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to heal, allow yourself to develop through that grief journey. It has many stages and it's not circular. I know the grief wheel talks about going through anger and rejection and sorrow and depression, and it's multifaceted. You can jump from one stage to another. So allow yourself that place within the grief to acknowledge where you are. And just when you think you're okay and don't need a sign, I'm sure that's when it will come.
Yeah. Sometimes when we look for things so hard, we get in our own way. And even if we look at it from people that are developing the mediumship where they're trying so hard, they get in their own way. And sometimes that grief, and it's one of the places that none of us want to be, and none of us want to be in that club where we've lost somebody, but it's a painful journey, and sometimes we need to go through that period, and it's those moments that we actually let go and relax is where those communications take place, within dreams, within our thoughts, within the impression upon the mind. And like Scott said about playing the music in the background, it is a welcome distraction for the mind that's searching and looking. And just allowing the mind to drift is one of the key things that we try and help with people suffering grief today.
Thank you. I know I really didn't understand what the sitting in the power was, but could you maybe, Phil and Kerry, describe it for, I know in this is open sharing, both Scott and Phil and Kerry have sitting in the power audios that you can purchase for a small amount off their websites that can help lead you through that and being in that power. But for someone that doesn't have access to that, is there a practice that we could do maybe after we spend this hour together, that we could close our eyes and just a little advice to help us start that strengthening?
I think when people begin to sit in the power, they think it's a thing of doing. So they sit there and they're going into their own space and they're trying to get into the power. Whereas the power is within, so going to that space within and allowing yourself to be in that space. And the monkey mind cannot be tamed. So we have to go with the thoughts. So the daydreams will come in with thoughts. What have we got for shopping? What do we still have to do? If you allow the thoughts to come in and go, then you might get caught on one of those thoughts. That daydream state might come in, and then that blending, if the spirit world choose to join you in that time, the spirit world will come in and join you in that space, and before you know it, you think you're just daydreaming, but in actual fact as a blending takes place, because the conscious mind needs to be kept busy. The conscious mind needs to be taken out, so to speak. And so when the spirit world are coming in and blending with us and allowing us to build that power within that space, our conscious mind will continually analyze it, question it. So sitting in the power, we're actively passive in a way, whereas meditation, we're away on a journey and we're not really in ourselves. It starts off as a mindfulness, starts off as an awareness of self, starts off with the sound, starts off with the energies around about you of yourself, and then allow yourself to just expand your awareness beyond that. And as you expand your awareness beyond that, then you begin to feel the whole of who you are, because everything of who you are is in that energy, or that auric field, that etheric field around about you. And as you get more familiar with that area, that's how the spirit world can come in and start to blend. We say blend because we're talking about energies blending together. And that's where, as we develop our own sensitivity of who we are in that essence, then when somebody else joins us, our energy, our mind, our soul recognizes that. And that's where we can begin to get communication from loved ones, or for purposes of mediumship, we can begin to get communication from the spirit world.
Can I just add to that? And I think we can simplify this even more in a certain way. Shall we say meditation is good for the mind? Sitting for the power is for the soul's mind. And so if you're trying to calm the mind, meditation will help focus that. But if you are wanting to develop your spiritual mind, which is opening the door, is sitting for power. But it's trying not to overthink it. If you overthink it, you are actively involved, and it's about being passive. It's about allowing the stream to move through you. But as it moves through you, it saturates your soul, and therefore you become a part of it.
I think sometimes people want to think their way there, Scott, and they can't.
No. And that's the problem that so many people think of. They think mediumship is difficult. It isn't. It's simple. It's natural. It's normal. And therefore sitting for the power must be natural and must be normal.
Yeah. And I think like you've both correctly said, you've got to discover the self, because you're going inward to discover who you are, how you feel about things, what you are. And that's where that discipline comes in, to quieten the mind, to feel, to sense what's going on within you. And as you grow and those senses become aware, like Kerry said, the expansion of the auric field as the power grows within. And the key word is the spiritualization of the soul. As that begins to happen, that's where these experiences start to happen, where we feel the presence of somebody else. But we've got to go through that mental journey as well. All our thoughts, all our fears are in there as we feel somebody else's presence or what's going on. As we start to master the emotions, master the senses, that's when the mind heightens, and that's where the real spiritual experiences we have, that those that walk beside us, those that work with us, those that love us and are around us, start to impress upon us in many different ways. And again, I'll stress, it's each one's individual, but we have to relax. We have to surrender to that power. We have to engage in the power, but not actively overthink it. And the more that we do that, the greater it builds, the more the reality becomes tangible, and the greater the experience we have. So it is a real journey of self.
Thank you for that. I know my practice that I do is I imagine the little light of my soul just in the center of my belly, shining bright. And I imagine it just starting to pour out my pores of my skin. And then I imagine my God, my spirit, or my, the big one, God for me, just being the sun. And I let those two lights blend with the sincere prayer, let me sit in the power, even if I don't know exactly what it is, I'm here. And then I just try to concentrate on my breath a little bit. And gosh, a couple of times I've just gone into this no man's land that it seemed like a couple minutes have passed and it was an hour. So that's just my thing. But if anybody wants to steal that, I want to go on to our next question. Yes.
Someone said this, they can't hear the sound properly. So I don't know if you can do anything with the sound or not.
Or if it's on their device, they have to put the volume up, maybe.
Maybe. For anyone who is having difficulties, this will play again on YouTube not YouTube, yes, on YouTube, but on Facebook. It'll stay if you're watching it on Facebook. And then I will also post it at wedon'tdieradio.com, and I'll have it on YouTube, so you'll be able to hear it. It is being recorded with full sound, so we will have that available. And I'm limited on my side on the controls of what I can change, and volume of broadcasting is not one of them. So I apologize if you can't hear it very well, but there'll be time to replay. But going along with these questions, we have an attendee that asked, do our loved ones feel sadness or grief like when they see us in deep grief? Does it affect them?
It's a complex question. There's been many, try and keep it as simple as I possibly can. There's been many contacts that we've delivered where the loved ones has felt sadness, felt that way. But it's to do with them. When they come around us, they're quite positive, they're quite uplifting. They'll do anything for us to create that more positive vibe. That's the only way I can put it, because they know the purpose. The purpose they come is through love. It's through sharing that. It's to remind us they're around us, still wanting us to know they're there. So for me, it's always positive, but they still carry their essence of who they were, the things they've done in life. They have their own disappointments and things like that. So in a way, yes, but when they come around us, no. The point is healing, point is comfort, and it's about inspiring us to be better people, inspiring us to do better as much as they possibly can. That's the reason for the contact, and the only reason for contact, really.
I think when I've done contacts with people, there has been, sorry, Scott.
No, sorry, you go.
When I'm given a reading or a contact to somebody who is in deep, deep grief, what I've heard the communicator say, whether it be a child or a parent, is I am not saddened myself, but I feel the sadness of you, and that makes me concerned or unhappy or worried, or whatever word that communicator uses. Please allow the grieving process to happen. Now, that normally only takes place when the communicator has the impression that the person is stuck in their grieving process, or they just need some healing in order to release them from that part of their grieving process. So it might be the letting go, it might be the letting go to allow a new relationship with our loved ones in the spirit world. It might be clearing out things, or sorting out a room, or moving house, the house that the person's been in as well. There's lots of reasons to hold on, and more often than not, the person will come through and say, because you feel the pain so much, when I draw close, I feel that, and I wish that you would heal and release and move on in that grieving process.
See, when it came to my dad, my dad went over to the spirit world in an extraordinary way. I don't say extraordinary, but in a different way to what we call a natural passing. And there was a lot of anger because he didn't have to go that day. And I remember him drawing close for a communication, and he got a bit tearful because I felt his love. I've gone, oh my God, and he got emotion back, like it was like a reflection. And as I got more angry because of the situation, he came very close, and in his way, he said, I want my family to heal. Stop thinking like this. And that's when he became a bit more stern. But that was my dad's personality. And it made me then release this thought I had of this. And now when he draws close, I can feel him like kind of shoulder barge me. And he going, "You're right, mate." And where I've just been in hospital, I felt his presence there. And he'd always get nervous and bite his nails. And I could hear him biting his nails. And I thought, well, if I die, I'm going to be with you. And if I live, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. So I think it was his nervousness of just being with me. But so many people, when they come through the voice box, the first things they say, "Oh my God, I can do this. I love you." But you can hear it in their voice. And then all of a sudden they move into happiness, like a lad that came through and he said to his mother, you know, "Stop using my underwear as feather dusters." And I thought that was so cool, you know. And another one, you know, later on he said, "Don't use the underwear, cut up the t-shirts and use that instead." And I found that was beautiful piece of information, but it also showed that the child is around, but saying to the mother, "Come on, let's get through this together."
It shows the personality, the character of the essence of them, still living, still very much as they are, and it's
Wanting the best.
like Kerry's just said. And these conversations are unique, as Scott's talking, so many memories are flooding back from my early development, where we sit and we feel that the people impress upon us so close, and for them to feel how it feels to be back within the body or have that feel of the body, it's very emotional for them. And even what Scott said, I've had the pleasure of doing a contact for Scott and a couple of demonstrations, and his dad always comes through differently, but it's the sense of humour that he comes with, it's the funniness that he comes with, it's the stories, it's the essence of who they are. And more or not, often than not, that they're very much more alive than we are, with the sense of humour and everything. And I remember a medium saying to me recently, "Well, I try to entertain, I try to be funny." And I said, "Why? When it's the spirit world, if they come through themselves genuinely as they are, the humour's delivered, everything, the personality's there, and sometimes we don't even know what we're saying until it's out, and it's like, did I really say that?" And everyone's in laughter. The spirit, we just give them a voice, just give that unseen world that voice to come forward. But there's many occasions where we've sat and something's been said, and you can feel the pain of the spirit world because they want to come through in such a positive way that sometimes our reactions affect that contact as well. So again, the more we stay positive within self, it helps them. Even sitting in circle, encouraging them to come forward, to feel the voice or somebody within the circle calling that person forward, you can feel that power, that movement in the consciousness as well. So it's phenomenal. It really is.
And the spirit people have a sense of humour, especially when you're tracking the link and someone has misunderstood them or is using their name in vain. And you can hear the spirit communicator maybe saying, "What's in it for you?" And he's a daft one, that one. And you can hear their thoughts. And it's their personality. And especially when someone says, "Oh, your son, your daughter's stuck." And then you can hear the voice of the spirit person saying, "Stuck in what?" And you're trying to laugh, but then you get angry because this is what a person's going to hear, and they're going to believe their loved one's stuck. They're not stuck. And it's so, the spirit people have such a sense of humour, and especially the ones who didn't believe in this when they come over, and they just give it to you bluntly, and it's so funny.
It is
great. Yeah, I want to just say a little shout out to Linda. She's been sending Scott Reiki during our conversation now. So, yeah, thanks. Our next question. Go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say anything's appreciated.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Love you. Yeah, there's so many people that are struggling right now. Brian asked a question, and also tied in with this is Jennifer's question, so I'm going to just include them together. Brian asked, "There's so much fear in the world right now. Is it causing difficulty with the spirit world communicating with us? Are they as concerned as we are? And then just part two, because I think Jennifer's is tied in, is I've heard that because of all the prayers in the world right now, that the veil is very thin. Do you agree? So maybe we can do that, those together. Scott?
Absolutely. I think when we are faced with something so changing, you know, we've never had a world in shutdown before. We've never had an opportunity to sit at home with our families and talk with one another. So the veil between the two worlds is definitely becoming thinner, because people are forced to stop. People are forcing themselves to do stuff that they don't normally do. So for me, before I got this, my intent was to sit every day, go into my power, reach the unseen world, and send healing to the spirit world and say, what you need, take, and we will deliver, or give, or share. So I think from this darkest day, with all this fear, and fear breeds fear. It's like fire, fighting fire with fire makes a greater fire. If we can send positivity out, it will consume this vibration that's around the earth. Smiling to your neighbor, but remaining safe, but saying, are you well? Do you need anything? And bringing that spirit back. Last night, when we came back from hospital, at 8 o'clock, we stood out the front and we clapped for the NHS. And it was so emotional, so moving, that people were thinking of another. It's made the vibration of the earth change, but make no mistake, darker days are coming, especially for the United Kingdom. And we will get through this, but it will bring out the best in humanity.
Absolutely. I think that there's not been a unprecedented need like this since the Great Wars. And everyone pulled together, every country pulled together to fight. And I think it's the same thing now, that we're all pulling together as one. I don't see us anymore, and I don't think the spirit world see as individuals or different countries. They see us as one human race. And I think just like then, there's a need. We felt the emotion of the spirit world and expressing that need, that they want to come through, they want to support, they want to bring. But also, to answer part of Brian's question, do they find it more difficult to blend with us or communicate with us? I don't think there's a difficulty. I think ourselves as human beings get caught in a panic. We get stressed, we get worried, we have all this fear within us, and it's that emotion that gets in our way. That's my own personal view as a medium. But again, if we relax, we talked about sitting in the power and meditation, if we take time to reflect, to take time out and come away from that side of things, then there's no excuse why the spirit world can't communicate exactly the same. And because that need is there, I agree with Scott, and I know what Kerry is about to say. There is a need there. That veil is thinner at the moment because they're reaching out to support humanity. All those people are passing, and unfortunately, with some of the readings we've done, we've touched upon how they've passed very recently through this virus. It isn't pleasant. So I think there's a much need from the spirit world, those loved ones, to come back to let us know that they've left behind. And I'm going to pinch one of Scott's phrases: when the spirit world loses somebody, they weep, but when they regain, they cry with joy, sort of thing, as we weep as we lose them. And he said that the other night, and those words have really stuck with me. So I think there's different aspects to it here, but very much I think the spirit world are doing whatever they can, and they have that same love for us. They want us to pull together. And as Scott said, we will get through this. And it was Winston Churchill's quote, I think it was, of the darkest hour: we will get through this, the light will be again. So we will get there.
Scott?
You're on mute. if you're trying to talk.
No, it is. I think it's only when the sun sets and the curtain of night is drawn, we see the stars which have always been there. And I think really that we as spiritualists or people who are just compassionate, I believe at this moment our mediumship will just be held, because the need is truly for healing. So people sitting at this moment for their development may find that your mediumship won't blossom as well as it should at this moment, because we have given ourselves in service so that power will be used for healing. And thank you, Phil, for using that quote. And I have to be honest, it's a Silver Birch quote, so I can't take credit for it. But Silver Birch, obviously, it was one of our greatest philosophers. And I recommend anyone who's on their spiritual unfoldment to look into that. Sorry, Kerry, I'm very rude.
It's okay.
Roseanne has a question, and she says, 2020 has been called the year of clear vision. Is the coronavirus part of this plan to awaken humanity? And will there be a mass exodus that was planned to accelerate that plan? Any thoughts from you guys? For me personally, I'm going to swear, you know, shit happens. Being on planet Earth is the hardest part of our existence. I know there's stuff in the Bible about the end of days. There's different things different people believe and all that. I personally don't. So I would have to say for myself that that's not anything that empowers me, but what do you folks say?
Yay.
Me too.
I think it's all too easy in some ways to blame God or the universe or some sentient being for what's happening. Everything that happens on the planet generally is a reaction of something else, and my brain normally tries to look for the scientific explanation before I go into any other explanation or option. And what I've experienced is when something happens, it is normally because either the human body has done something that the consequence years or months later has an effect. Because there is that natural law, there is the need for there to be natural balance. And when we've got natural balance, generally people work, their bodies work, their minds work, their emotions are in balance. But when things become out of balance, when we look at the balance against negative thoughts or negative behavior or words, all carry that essence of that thought. And when that maybe becomes out of balance with the amount of positivity and positive thought, positive deed and positive words, then I wonder whether there is something that happens that generates some kind of illness. So I'm not scientific in any way. I can't describe this. I'm not saying that we've brought it upon ourselves. What I'm saying is there might be something around about us as a human race needing to put back what we've taken out, to put back that love, to put back that support, to put back that care and attention for people, that respect for the planet. And if we did that, I don't know, maybe it would be less, but I don't know other than that.
Very quickly, if I could jump in there, I can see the question that Roseanne's put, and I'm not sure about clear vision or the Exodus plan and acceleration, but there's just one bit that sticks in my mind or really comes out is the humanity awakening. I'm hoping that this is something that ends all wars, that ends all disputes, that pulls everyone together, because we're going to have to stand together in this. So I'm hoping that it does wake humanity up to the sense of we are one civilization, we are one population, and we should all be working together in that harmony. We should be, as some of the principles say, that we are brother and sister. We should be standing together. We should be supporting, encouraging, and working together now. And I think these are unprecedented times where it must happen. I haven't heard anything on the news. I'm not one for watching news and things, but I'm hoping that senseless fighting is stopped in different parts of the world. while all this goes on, and I hope it brings an end to it all. I really do. So I hope humanity wakes up from this.
Through the years of sitting, we had insight to things which were going to happen, but there is no time in the spirit world. So certain things, when we were told by the spirit world, things which were brought out of balance must be brought back into balance. And I think now, and I use the word think, not know, I think now, even though that our backs are against the wall with this is affecting everyone. And trust me, I've seen it firsthand. It's an opportunity, as both Phil and Kerry have said, for us to bring out the best in people. And I sincerely hope that this time, what Phil has just said, to hopefully end war, end suffering, because this doesn't care how old or young you are, rich or poor, healthy or unhealthy. It is something that's going to come. And I know that sounds fearful and things like that, but it's the wake-up call that we all need to be better people, and also to look what we're ingesting as well. You know, what are we ingesting into our bodies, and how are we treating the things we ingest as well? So this is a renewal time as well. I remember my friend said, you have to ingest to digest. So we've got to take in that situation and then digest it and see what will come from it. Will it give us energy to drive forward, or will it stop us in our tracks? But I hope, I truly hope, that after all of this, and we're allowed out our front doors, we'll make efforts to meet our neighbours, to speak to people in the street. How are you? How did you get on? And not cross the street to avoid someone. So this is a really good opportunity, even though it's a disaster, to bring out the best in humanity.
Thanks, Scott. And I know even for me, I saw a little bit on TV yesterday that all the world's leaders came together in like a big Zoom room or whatever they use. And then also seeing how fast one thing can make a huge difference in the world. So in this case, it's Corona making this impact around the globe, but it just shows me that it's possible for one thing, maybe for good, to be in the world and make a difference. So, I mean, imagine the day comes, you know, people never believed in airplane travel. People never believed in electricity. People never believed in life after death. That tipping point can occur and things can happen fast. So although it's an awful thing, I look for myself as what can we do on the positive note. There's always what we can do. So next question. How about this one? Jessica. Oh, of course you can, Darren.
It's coming through on Facebook from Nancy. It's aimed at Scott, but I suppose Phil and Kerry can answer as well. She says, speaking of being stuck, 2 mediums told me that I am blocked and cannot help me with being unblocked. I do not understand what they mean. Do you?
Can I answer that? And I'm going to take a leaf out of Sandra's book, and I apologize, bullshit. Because, and this is the problem that we face, people's ego as mediums will try and suppress or try and make a situation more than it should be. You will not be blocked. And because they planted that seed, you're thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to go forward. You know, there are times when the vibration of you and your spirit friend, and you're so in sync with each other, the spirit friend draws a bit closer and it feels like they've gone away, and it isn't. It's just an adjustment of thought, adjustment of power. But don't ever think you have to spend money here, there and everywhere of trying to get things unblocked and things like that. It's not necessary. Stop running, sit still, and reach to your friends in the spirit world. And they're there, they're always there. And the mediums who said that you are blocked, shame on them, because they're not helping, they're hindering. And that's me being honest and very brutal. And I'm sorry if no one has ever heard me use the word bullshit before. But we have to shock to listen.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. Totally. I think that the word block is used in a way that explains why a tutor or a circle leader or a medium can't either teach, give a contact, or help somebody develop their mediumistic abilities. Blocks can be misinterpreted. Somebody might have a difficulty within themselves of getting it wrong, or of failing, or am I a medium, or am I good enough? That sort of question can be worked through within self. When you work with your spirit team, when you're blending with your spirit team, they will give you that knowledge and that assurity within yourself for you to know undoubtedly who you are and what you are. When you know truly what you are, nobody can take that away, regardless of whether you respect them or not. Nobody should be able to take away the fact that you have a natural ability to do whatever you choose to do to the best of your ability. So it's not about being blocked. It's about knowing what might get in the way at worst, and then sit in the power and work your way through it. Allow your team to gently walk you through your soul's experience so that you get to know who you are, how you are, and how you're going to be.
I think we have to be honest and look at where we are as an individual, where we are in our development and what we're capable of. We talk about people striving to develop, and we hear these terms called being blocked, but actually the more that we sit, the more that we blend with the spirit world, as Scott and Darren have said, Scott and Kerry has said, as well as Darren, I know that from previous conversations, the more that we sit and blend there, that spiritualization of the self takes place. And the more that we do that over time, we move forward progressively. The spirit world don't just hand everything over on a plate. They don't just say, oh, I like Kerry more than Phil, so I'm going to give everything to Kerry and not to Phil. What they do, we have to earn that right. We have to put that discipline in. It takes time. There's no quick route. We can coach ourselves from self-limiting beliefs and things. We can work through all those, but there is no, what's the word I'm looking for? That there's nothing like experience of sitting within that power. We're sitting with the team of the spirit world, developing spiritually, developing mentally, developing emotionally, developing physically. The more that we develop that way, the longer that we sit, the longer that we're doing this, the more advanced in the ability and the faculties that we have of psychic or mediumistic will develop. So it's a matter of time. And Scott's quite correct. We can throw as much money at it as you want and all these courses, but it must be daily practice of sitting. Gordon Higginson said, and it was Paul Jacobs who quoted this to me, that we must use our mediumship in some form every day. And the more that we're there living spiritually, I mean, we're hoping that humanity wakes and they take time at the moment to sit and reflect while we've got time at home together. The lives are not as busy. But the more that we can do that, the more that we progress, the more that the mind heightens, the more that we can develop further.
Wonderful. Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Can I just get real with the kids? Because because I'm ill, I'm going to get away with it. I think we need to start looking at this, guys. You know, mediumship is natural. Mediumship is normal. And we've got to try and burn away this dead wood of people's silly ideas of, you've got to do this like that, do this like that, do this. And it's all fear, or control. You know, just go to your friends. If someone says something to you, then, you know, smile sweetly if you need to, and then send it to the spirit world and say, this person's given me advice on my development. Is this something that you would like me to ponder upon? But I, as a tutor, are starting to get a little bit tired of seeing and hearing these silly ideas of how people are trying to connect with the spirit world. It was a natural unfoldment. When you first opened your gift, before you even knew of any of us, the spirit world was talking to you naturally. And as we grew up, it seems to silence, but then it comes back if it's required. But these people who are charging mega money and giving you silly ideas, it's confusing you even more. So keep it simple. That's what we've all done. We've kept it simple. And that is what we must echo. I'm so sorry to jump in. I could die tomorrow, maybe. And if I do, I'll come back and help you.
You'd be a nightmare as a contact.
I tell you what, heaven help the medium I work for. Because they don't represent me in the right way. Yeah. I am going to materialize with high heels on through their eyes. And it's going to hurt and it's going to be painful.
Oh, my 2 cents are, I think it's so easy for us to say, I want to be a meeting. I want. I certainly didn't want to be on what I'm doing right now, sharing everything I'm sharing, but I kept seeing things about grief. Everything was like, oh my gosh, finally I had to tell my story. I think it's growth spurts. I think the spirit world has a plan for us. And instead of what do I want, ask them, what do you want? I don't know if many people know, but Scott used to be a spirit artist. He used to do demonstrations and draw people. And all of a sudden one day on stage, it stopped. Now he could have said, am I blocked and but the spirit world had other intentions for him, and look where he is now. So trust your unseen team. If you want to talk to somebody and get coaching, talk to your friends in the spirit world. They know your path. They know what's right for you, and different strokes for different folks. So I know time's going by pretty quick, and we said this to do this about an hour. Are you guys okay to stay on for a little longer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are.
Yeah.
Okay, Jessica asked a question. For people who have passed through taking their own lives, do they take longer to come through and let us know that they're okay due to them needing to take time to self-heal? So kind of, do we need to heal when we transition before coming through? And any thoughts on people who have taken their own lives?
I think the 3 of us will have hopefully similar experiences. When I've done communications on behalf of somebody who's died by suicide, sometimes it has been before the funeral has taken place. Sometimes it has been just after the funeral. Sometimes it's been years later. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but I certainly feel just they don't take longer to come through. Once, I can't remember, we were having a discussion, I think we were maybe having a private discussion, and we came to the conclusion that the easiest way to say it is when you're in the body and you're breathing, you're here. But when you're not in the body and not breathing, you're there. It's as simple as that. There's no tunnel or no place you need to go to reside in order to get to the spirit world. You're actually in the spirit world. What does happen is if the individual needs to go through some personal reflections or healing before they come back and communicate, because I would imagine that a lot of families are deeply affected by people who die by suicide, then it can take time before that person goes back to communicate, simply because the vacuum of grief that's been created is just, it's not appropriate for the person to come back and say, hi, I love you, I'm really sorry, or hi, I love you, and oh, I love what you're doing with the house. So it depends. The length of time it depends on is not because of the manner in which they died. It's because the manner in which they're dealing with and the family's dealing with.
I mean, whether it's, I don't know, I had an experience, well, I've had a few experiences a few years ago in demonstrations where I've brought somebody's son or other people through who have died that way, have taken the life they've chose to go that way, and they've come through on the same day. We've had people come through the following day. There is no time limit. Scott mentioned before, there is no time in the spirit world. More often than not, it's due to grief, fear, the impact that's left behind, why that communication doesn't place, because we're still in shock. We miss them, it's sudden in most cases, and it's how we view it. But there is nothing in the spirit world that is they're not in a different place. They're all in the same place. They're all in that loving environment. I know I've heard many different stories of they go to purgatory and everything. No, they don't. Let's clear that up straight away. And again, what Scott said before, there's a lot of BS out there. They go to the same place. Why should they not? As you can tell, I'm getting a little bit frustrated with that. I'm going to calm down a little bit because of these nonsenses that are out there. It's a really good question. I'm glad it's been asked because we can put it to bed. There is no time. They can come through straight away. But it's down to the person that's sat in front or in that congregation if they're ready to hear, if they're in that place that's accepted that. Darren's laughing away there. He's spotted another question.
No, it's the cat.
It's the cat.
The cat. Now, I have to say to you, and my heart is with anyone who comes for a talk or a sit-in or a demonstration who has had a suicide experience in their family. And I always approach the same sit-in in the same way. We're giving our time to help heal the need of the person in front and healing the need of the person that's talking. And I get so angry and so passionate when I hear these ridiculous ideas of what happened if someone takes their own life. I had a gentleman whose wife was dying, and as his wife died, he committed suicide. He had full, health, etc., and he wanted to communicate to his daughter, who said, my mum died naturally, but then my dad took his own life. He didn't need to go. And the dad was explaining in my mind how much he was grieving. And he said, I couldn't let my wife let me go, and took his own life. And you have to try as a medium to bring that relationship and be sensible in what you're saying. Sorry, can you hear? Direct voice in the most inappropriate time it's come, but it's about giving ourselves a service. But these ridiculous mediums or wannabe mediums who are saying I can't get in touch because they have to spend time resting. No, as Phil and Kerry know, I've had people pass 2 hours and then they're talking through the voice box going, well, that was a waste of time. I said, what do you mean? He said, I expected to see a light, I expected to see this, I expected to see that. And I just closed my eyes and I'm here. And my grandmother said, come on, get yourself sorted. You've got a meeting. And they're coming through the voice box talking back. And, and you're not expecting that loved one to be there, but it was a friend of someone. And you're trying to counsel these people who are broken because they've heard ridiculous things. But I get so angry, so angry.
Yeah, well, we've got some support. I just want to share what's coming up this weekend. And if you're watching this on YouTube in the year 2022, it'll be the next episode. You can just fast forward. But this weekend in March 28th, which is tomorrow, for anybody who's watching this live, Phil and Kerry are going to do an online demonstration of mediumship. And there is a charge to it, but it goes to some good unemployed people. and they're really a wonderful time to know that your loved ones are around. Certainly there might be a group of 50 people, and there might be several loved ones that come through. Not everybody's will, but just we know being in one of these events that all of our loved ones are there standing right behind us. So it's a really good opportunity to know that life after death is real. So that's tomorrow. You can find that at wedon'tdieradio.com is a link for that. And then also on Sunday, this is a freebie, the 5 of us are getting together and we're doing a spiritualist divine service. This will be a church service. There's many people around the world that are no longer able to go to their places of worship. And this will be a free church service that we're going to host online in a format quite like this, but with media, with music and a nice sermon and a demonstration of mediumship will happen at the end. Our friend Phil, Kerry will be chairing the service. I will be giving a reading, and we invite you to join us. If you can't be there with us live, it will be recorded, so it'll be shown on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you want to sign up for it on Zoom, you can just, again, go to wedon'tdieradio.com. Right in the very top of that page, there are different links depending on different Sundays. So we're going to do this for several weeks. I don't know how long we're going to be housebound, but it's our gift to you. So we ask you to join us. And to all the people that have asked questions, I know there's some people on Facebook and also in our Zoom room. We can't get to them all now, but thumbs up to everyone if we're going to do this again. I really think we will. Yeah, and so we can answer some of the questions that haven't been answered yet. And I apologize for people who asked questions. The world of the afterlife is, we can't even imagine how far it expands, and the same as our questions about it. One of the things that the five of us have discussed is that questions like people being stuck or earthbound spirits and negative entities and these questions that people have, we have our own beliefs, the five of us. We've got some real core beliefs, and we thought, what's the best way of getting them out? So we are in the process of brainstorming a course, an online course, while we're all housebound, to bring to you the world of the afterlife, the world of the unseen world, the world of tapping into your own psychic and mediumistic abilities, and to go through some of those core values that we believe in. So just be watching. We'll be coming up with that, out with that shortly, but we hope you join us, because it'll rock your world is what it'll do, and it'll be more time with us. And yes, this is my ego, but who doesn't want more time with us? Ha ha ha. We're going to close this in just a few minutes, because I promised everybody an hour here, but I just want to know from Kerry and Phil and Scott and Darren, just look inside your heart if there, what you want to share, you know, what inspiration do you want to share with those? And it doesn't necessarily need to be for this uncertain time, but it very well may be. But if we can each tap into our own inspiration and just leave some closing words, I'd love that.
Already unmuted.
Is it okay if I, because mine isn't necessarily inspiration, it's experience. And a couple of days ago, I'm walking around fit and well, and within a matter of hours, an ambulance is at my door. Darren's not allowed to come with me, and I'm taken into a quarantined area where it's pretty much the next stage to intensive care. And not being able to breathe or even string a sentence together, I've noticed how much and how quickly your life can change like that. And I think what you can learn from this is that you have an opportunity now to tell all those who you love how much they mean, because within a heartbeat, your health can change. Luckily, mine's only pneumonia. I keep saying ammonia, pneumonia, and I will get stronger. But there was someone in my ward who was on the next step of being ventilated because of corona. So seeing how quickly that can change. So don't ever take anything for granted. Enjoy every moment. And when you step outside your door tomorrow, appreciate the sunrise, appreciate that bird that sings, appreciate the smell of cut grass, because there are people who are not having that experience. So treasure every moment of it.
Okay, and just adding on to what Scott said, I mean, it was a scary moment for both of us, but for someone you care about in hospital that you can't go and see, you can't be with, it plays havoc with your mind, and you have all kinds of thoughts going through your head. But I know we're all going through tough times at the moment, but just be there for each other, help your neighbours, help the people around you. And I know Phil touched on it earlier. Let's think of the positive from all of this. Let's hope that at the end of it, there is no more wars, there's no more hatred. And people will change their views towards how they act and behave towards other people. But you know what? We can start doing that now rather than wait until the end. But we will get through this, and everyone just stay positive.
Thank you.
I think that positivity is what's going to make a difference. I know, Sandra, you're bringing us together in order to provide these evenings, these questions, these points where people can tap into, like the service, where everybody can have a sense of being together when we're all in separate places. But whilst we're in separate places, it's very easy to get caught up in the minutiae, and the minutiae becomes very important, whereas when we're really busy, it didn't. So let's put the minutiae back where it belongs and focus on what we can make a difference for. We can make a difference through our thoughts. We can make a difference through healing. And we can make a difference through making a difference to other people as well. So if we stay true to our values, then they're going to see us through this. But if we're together, you've got a community here, Sandra, that you're bringing together, but we're all part of a community as well. And so if we reach out, then the tentacles of this reach farther and farther. And in times of despair or loss or isolation, there is a beacon, but the beacon starts with you.
Yeah. To echo everybody's words, I think it's a time where we can use very wisely to take this time while we're indoors to self-reflect, to go within, because we can't go out, and start looking at who we are and what we want from life, because we can make a difference, and it starts with ourselves. If we can make a difference with ourselves, we can have like a domino effect on everybody else. Look what's important in life, what's not important in life. And at the moment, what is important is that we all follow the rules that we've been advised to stay indoors, spend time with the family. So if we use this time wisely, I think we can make a huge change within this world, within this time, and within mankind. Humanity can grow, the human mind can elevate, we can make it a better place. We really, really can. And if we all stick together, and if we all send that healing band, that healing thought, that consciousness out into the world, then there'll be few and less people waking up in the morning missing their loved ones from losing them. I think that we can do this as one race, one humanity. We'll make a huge difference in the world. Stop these senseless wars, these senseless acts, and pull together as brother and sister, as one family.
Thank you, you guys. And then for me, I know that we have this negative voice in our head that's usually talking 24/7. It never shuts up. And if you don't know who that voice is, let me just be quiet for a second. And you probably just heard it say, what voice? That's the voice. We wake up in the morning. I don't know how many empowering things we say when we look in the mirror, or do we tear ourselves apart for whatever we look like. It's always there. It's part of our human being, is this voice. It's just a voice. It doesn't mean it's telling you the truth. 99.9% of the time, it's not telling you the truth if it's telling you negative things. But like Phil says, and everybody says, I echo it as well, is take that time to go inside and to quiet the mind a bit. Or if you can't quiet it, put your attention on reading, listening to inspiring things, creating. If you were on with us with our chat number 1, when we get into the flow of creating things, I mean, you don't feel inspired before you start, but inspiration comes after you start getting busy. So whether you're drawing a picture or writing some poetry or just journaling, or I don't know, digging in your backyard, whatever it is, you know, you'll get in the zone. So make yourself useful, keep busy. Above and beyond anything else, look for an opportunity to serve your fellow mankind. Sometimes it's just picking up the phone and saying hello, or I've got some friends who are posting some really funny stuff on Facebook these days, and little do they know what a difference it's making, cheering me up. So look for ways to serve. So back to, I guess, the beginning, we'll be doing more of these warm chats at home coming up. So be on the lookout at WeDon'tDieRadio.com. Again, I invite you to join us for one of our upcoming divine services Not only are we going to have the demonstration of evidential mediumship tomorrow, but we've got a special one coming up on April 3rd. Scott Milligan and Kerry and Phil, we're going to be doing a dem with a difference. They'll be doing evidential mediumship. Scott will be doing a trance mediumship demonstration. And we'll go from there. We're going to keep doing things to keep us all busy while we're at home and inspired and being together. So with that, I want to say good night or good morning, depending on where you're watching us from. This will be replayed on Facebook, on YouTube. You can find it at We Don't Die Radio in just a matter of not too long. But I will also post in the description of this, if you're watching it on YouTube or on Facebook, the links for the Sitting in the Power audios by Scott and Phil and Kerry. They're really, really good. And sometimes, again, that'll get you out of your own head and you can listen to these beautiful voices and lead you to sit in that power. So with that, I say thank you for being here. I'm Sandra Champlain, again with my great friends, Darren Wynn, Scott Milligan, Kerry McLeod, and Philip Dykes, and we love you all. So take care of yourself, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.